Hey, Inspired Tribe. Welcome to the Inspired Livestream here on the Inspired channel. I'm Jean Nolan. This is my wonderful wife, Kristin Nolan. You can't see her right now, but she's making an appearance every now and then. Vocally, definitely more appearances. And we're excited that you're here with us. We're healthy, we're wealthy, we're whole, we're free. If you're tuning in for the first time, that's the mantra of the Inspired Livestreams. I believe this is number 156 of the Inspired live streams, and it is Monday, April 5th, 2021, 20 WON, and we're excited that you're all here. For those of you who are new, please, as soon as you come in, hit the like button. Let us know where you are tuning in from, who you are. Maybe if you want to, why you are here, how you came here, and just connect with the beautiful people in this tribe. There's so many wonderful people in the Inspired tribe. And before we dive into today's topic, and until everyone gets on here and jumps on board and is ready, I just wanted to let you know how all of this came about, because people have been asking about the live streams, and some of our good friends didn't even know we're doing this. And this came about last March 2020. Kristin came out of a meditation, and with everything that was going on, and with the uncertainty, and with all the unprecedented things that were happening at that time, Kristin said, let's do daily live streams. She was guided in her meditation, and we started doing those daily live streams for a couple of months, and then we scaled it back a little bit. Now we're at 3 live streams a week. But it's been a wonderful journey of beautiful connection, of co-creating this Inspired tribe, of wonderful new friendships. And so if you are here for the first time today, welcome to the Inspired tribe. You're now a lifelong member. There's nothing you can do about it. You simply are. It is always live when you're watching. Also, even if you see, it appears that the date you're watching this is in the past. It doesn't matter. When you're watching it, it's live, and it's the perfect time for you to see this. And this is also maybe important because people think, I missed it. You can't miss it. When you tune in, it's the right time, and you're seeing and hearing this at the right time. And please do connect. We're on Telegram. Go and visit our Telegram channel. We are on Facebook. Visit our Facebook page and group. Connect with each other. That's what the intention of this always was. And as for the subject, we pretty much cover everything that is, as wonderful co-creators that we are on this spiritual journey in a physical manifestation, human life. There's nothing under the sun, nothing in the universe that we don't really talk about. But what is our intention always is to peel the onion, so we get to the core, to the essence of a subject, and to what it means to us as humans, and how we can evolve in that, and how we can expand in that. So that's how we always look at things. And so we can cover anything from politics to, sports, to whatever is really on the menu, and we can come to the essence of things, which is really important to us. So as for today, before we dive into it, I'd like to give you an overview. So we peel this onion. We're going to cover sexuality in the matrix today. And this is both, the beginning of that and the end of that. Sexuality and matrix are both very controversial subjects that people feel very strongly about, either way. But one thing that is maybe important for everyone who's watching is that if you are on your spiritual journey, if your aim is not just to, manifest the next car, or a higher paycheck, or, a solely material thing, if your intention is to expand really as the spiritual being that you are, if your aim is to have a more enlightened experience as a human being, then you will sometimes be triggered, provoked, and even brought to an uncomfortable place by our live streams, our discussions here, because it would be easier for us to just stay in the comfort zone that you're used to, and kind of bring you to the best possible place in that comfort zone. That would mean that we would give you a little high, and you would just keep coming back for that high. And that's easy to do. And that would keep us all in a very similar place. What we really want to do is go to the true, authentic essence of things, which sometimes is very uncomfortable. And one of the things that a lot of people are uncomfortable with is when spirituality and discipline and overcoming certain instincts, is all being combined together, because people say so often, well, this feels good to me, so I'm going to do this. But why am I not advancing on my journey? Why don't things get better for me? Why do I keep going to that not good feeling place, or even a place of sadness or depression? And the answer is in the question. The word feeling is so broad, and we misinterpret it so often. So often what we believe, or what we call a feeling, is just a bodily instinct. And this is a biorobot, our body in itself. It functions with certain mechanisms. It has needs as solely a body, that we as the higher beings that we are, as spiritual beings that we are, inhabiting this body, if we're not in charge, then these lower instincts are in charge. And so when we say, well, this feels good to me, oftentimes what we're really saying is, my body craves this, and I'm giving it to my body because it has a craving, and then I'm satisfying that craving. That's not really feeling. That's a biochemical exchange of things, but it's not really a feeling. What we consider a feeling is when you're really connected as the wholeness of who you are, when you're connected to your highest self, when you have that God connection, that creator connection, then the feeling is much closer to an intuition. And that intuition is coming from a place of wisdom, not from a place of need. And that place of wisdom is what really guides us forward, what really allows us to expand on our journey. And so this is kind of as a preface to what we're talking about today, because this is going to be important. And there are certain topics like money, like sexuality, that are very, very emotionalized, and people have very strong opinions about them. And when you challenge those opinions, they will turn away because it is too much oftentimes. But that's what we're going to do today. We're going to challenge the views and opinions that you have about the topic of sexuality. And in the Matrix, and that's the artificial system that is surrounding us. And when we say artificial system, it's everything that humans have created outside and oftentimes detached from nature. How we live together, the rules, the programs, the systems, the governments, all of those things, that's what we call the Matrix. And maybe not even human created. That's actually a interesting point. We're not sure about that. At any rate, in the Matrix, everything has a very different purpose than our true human purposes. In the Matrix, everything serves the agenda of whoever is in charge of the Matrix. It's always about perpetuating this, how do these entities that are in power get more power, for some it's more money, but mainly it's more power. And in order to get more power over human beings, you only need to understand what their instincts and needs are, and cater to those instincts and needs rather than to the highest self, which is a more disciplined thing. But if you want to have control over human beings that are not as aware, not as conscious, you have to constantly trigger their lower vibrational instinct: food, sex, the believe in power, being stronger more than someone else. Those are the lower instincts. And so when we talk about sexuality in the Matrix, everything is sexualized in the Matrix. Every single aspect of our lives in the Matrix is sexualized. And if you don't believe me, go out and really look at billboards, really look at advertisements, really look at promos, listen to the radio, how certain things are pronounced, what intonation, how is the voice, how do these things work? And we believe the sex industry is kind of limited to prostitution and porn, but the sex industry is almost everywhere. It's in entertainment. Most of pop music is really sex industry. Most of the movies now are sex industry. Most of what you watch on TV, reality shows, are based in sex, in terms of everything is always reduced to, how does someone look and what is their appearance? Because the common wisdom in the matrix is that sex sells. And so you have to sexualize every aspect, sometimes when it's the most inappropriate. If we look at the children's toys, all of that, children's TV shows, children's music, all of that, if you really look into it, it's sexualized as well. Because even there's an instinct, and that is being triggered at that moment in time. But as adults, and as we walk through life, and as we evolve, and as we get a greater understanding for things, at some point we have to understand that if we want to evolve past a certain point, we have to become more disciplined and not allow our solely bodily instincts to drive us. But that's what's happening when people say, well, for example, sex feels really good to me. An orgasm feels really good to me, so I want to have as much as possible of that, which sounds like you're simply following, your intuition, but you're really not. You're just following that constant craving that you have taught your body to have. And the system, the matrix, has taught your body to have that because it's constantly giving you impulses, and you don't even understand that, but it's happening subconsciously. And so constantly there's this need that arises. Maybe it's daily, maybe it's every other day, but it arises, and you want to satisfy that need because it feels good. Inevitably, what will happen is the more you satisfy that need, the more it will come up, and the less satisfaction you will feel in that. But what you're really craving, and what no one is telling you, because we're now so evolved in that, we're so open, we're so free in that discussion, that no one wants to talk about the essence of what this really is. What you as a being, as a spiritual being, are really craving is fulfillment. What you are really craving is this beautiful feeling of bliss, of being in a space of non-wanting, fulfillment, being, just feeling at ease, at flow, and feeling in the moment. And what sex does, and what an orgasm does, is give you the impression of that feeling for a few seconds. But I can tell you, and if you're a more experienced meditator, if you go into deeper meditations, if you've done that for a while, you will realize that one beautiful, blissful meditation, which can last 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 minutes, will give you a more fulfilling, beautiful, stronger feeling than probably all of your orgasms over a lifetime culminated, and you still won't even get close to this blissful feeling. And there's a reason for that. If you look at the vibrational scale, then the feeling of lust is very low. It's right down here. It's at the bottom. It's right down here with anger, with all of the frustration, anger, violence, and lust are very, very close to each other. That's why a lot of times a certain element of violence comes into the sexual experience, because these vibrations are not too far apart from each other. And people are using their bodies, and people are using sexuality as a tool to get them to a certain point, but it was never ever intended to be that way. Actually, I would love to step away from even the word and come into a more beautiful description of actually making love, and understanding that we have made ourselves believe that this is something that is a very common thing that should happen very often, maybe every day, or maybe 5 times a week, or I don't know, whatever the common wisdom on that is. But actually it's a program, and this was intended to be the highest form of creation, and it was intended to be a perfect unity that when coming together produces not just new life in its purest form, but also a range of feelings that you can never reach when it's detached from love, and when it's detached from real unity. But within even the spiritual community, nobody really wants to touch that subject, because it's so controversial, because people get so, oh my God, someone is trying to take away my sex and my orgasms. And when it is much like with It's much like with eating and all the other, needs that the body has, the physical body has. Once you're in charge again, once you become the captain again, and kind of first is the overcoming of the need, right? Because the first step is to simply overcome the need to have it. This is a discipline thing. And then it's the experience of what really begins to build up within you in terms of energy and creative energy when you not give in to that release need that the body has. But it's only an instinct. It's not something that really needs to happen. It's only a bodily instinct, which is a survival mode, because the body is programmed to survive and to make sure that there is procreation. But we have detached ourselves from that program, emotionally and spiritually. And so these two things so often happen detached from each other, when really they were meant to be one thing. And so in the beginning of things, the way we have explored this, the way we have seen this, there might not have been a physical fusion for new life to be created. It might have been something that was even a step further when we have distanced ourselves more from the original wisdom. But where we stand today, everything is based around that. And in the Matrix, there's really three pillars that built the power structure. And that is power itself, the need and hunger for power, money, and sex. And if you look at the world around you, everything revolves around that. The beauty industry, to the largest extent, is really also a sex industry, because the beauty industry suggests that if you are more beautiful, more youthful, you're more desirable, and therefore you will have more sex. That's literally what the quintessential answer to those questions is. And the same thing it is with money. If you are more successful, if you have more money, and if you show more status symbols, you will attract more people. If you're looking for a woman or a man, and you will have more sex. And if you have more power, if you appear to be someone who can influence a large amount of people, you are more attractive, and you will have more sex. Can you see how everything really breaks down to that one common line? And it is not the spiritual experience of union with each other and union with God at the same time. It is just about the short-term satisfaction. And that's why we have run into such extremes in our society, in this matrix, where, because this satisfaction, it needs to there always needs to be an increase in stimulation. The more you do something, the more stimulation you need to have the same or a greater satisfaction experience. So we go into more extremes, and we've gone in such extremes that it's unspeakable today in terms of abuse, in terms of overpowering others and using people, using children. It's become a horrible, horrible thing. And it's all just based on this lowest form of bodily instinct, which is lust. And that can be triggered very easily if you do not allow yourself to overcome that and bring discipline to it and go into deeper connections, because that's the only place where you will feel a satisfaction that is closer to fulfillment, that is way bigger than what you could experience in a simple sexual act. And a lot of people, therefore, they switch partners very often. They go out and they look for it, and they need that, because it's really at the core a spiritual need that they then try to express through their bodies, and it's not working. That's why it has to get extremer and extremer. And this is a completely different concept than love and real, true, authentic, intimate love, which is a very, very different thing. And everything feels different. Everything expresses itself differently. And everything comes to a very, very different outcome also. So in the Matrix, these are the everything is always aiming at the instinctual level, at the very the lowest vibration, the reptilian brain, the survival brain. And so these areas are always triggered in the Matrix. And so when people say, man, it just feels good, it feels good to have sex, it feels good to go and have fast food, it feels good. It's not really feeling. You're just satisfying the survival instincts that your body has. It has nothing to do with the bliss, because bliss is up here. That is literally the highest vibration. And bliss you experience, as I said, in a deep state of meditation. Of course, you experience bliss in a beautiful, real relationship of real love, authentic love. That's where real bliss is experienced, and it cannot compare to a simply physical connection. It's not even the same universe in terms of how that feels. But it is such a controversial subject, because what we have seen in the Matrix is, first, it was a completely male dominated subject. Sex is simply something that men can have almost anywhere at any time in any form. And in the old paradigm, women were simply there, to fulfill that need. And then the quote unquote sexual liberation in the Matrix brought about the viewpoint that now women are equal and they can do the same thing. And now we consider ourselves to be free thinking and liberated in that, when really all it has done is corrupted even the beautiful feminine divinity in that. And now it's a very corrupted viewpoint, spiritually corrupted viewpoint within that matrix, that sexuality in the matrix is. And we want to say that we haven't really gone into the depths of that liberation, because the liberation is really the liberation from lust. That's really the liberation. When we detach sexuality from lust and connect it with love again, that's where a complete shift happens. And that's where such a deep fulfillment kicks in, and where you once again understand that when you are truly in control, when you are really the captain of your ship, of your spiritual ship and of your body ship, then nothing needs to happen. Nothing needs to happen. It's interesting. The more you practice, for example, fasting, and just randomly picking a day where you will not eat, or picking, where you will not give in to that bodily instinct and move up higher. The more you practice these things, the more you realize that there is deeper fulfillment to be had when you don't give in to those instincts. That you cannot reach those deeper levels of fulfillment if you constantly give in to those instincts, because it keeps you in a low vibration, because you cannot rise. You cannot go out and have sex every day and rise and raise your vibration to a point of bliss, because you'll constantly be down there. You will have those short-lived moments of satisfaction, but I will ask you this: if you really, really, really pay attention, isn't that always followed by a certain feeling of emptiness, or even a feeling there's a void coming afterwards, and that there isn't real lasting fulfillment? Because if simply a physical orgasm would bring lasting fulfillment, why would we want to have more of that? Because that would already bring the fulfillment. But the difference is that if you return to meditation, it isn't because you need that bliss. It's because it becomes a part of you. Because again, if it's for the needing of it, it doesn't happen. If it becomes a part of you, of your practice, because it grounds you, because it connects you, because it balances you, it's not a needing practice. It becomes a part of you. And we can only feel, and I can tell you this now, and you can hear this if you haven't experienced it. You can hear this on an intellectual level. And maybe it will be appealing enough for you to try it if you haven't felt it yourself. Because as everything else, words don't teach. We've heard this over and over again. Words do not teach, but words can inspire, and they can help you. They can trigger so much interest or excitement about something that you go out and actually want to experience this for yourself. And this is something that really does require discipline, because we're constantly bombarded with the idea that if you have, and for today's topic, if you have more sex, you're going to feel better. That's constantly out there. That's everywhere. And there's no boundary anymore. It is literally in everything. It is gone into every level of, if you will, education, of even religion, of the economy, of politics. Everything has been sexualized. And so it really requires quite a high level of discipline of spiritual discipline for you to move beyond those constant impulses and go into a deeper state of experience where the truth, the authentic truth, will find you, and it will be beyond words and description. It will be a feeling. And then notice what that does, and notice how there's oftentimes a battle, because sometimes you're right in the middle vibrationally. This is lust, and this comes down here, and you're somewhere in the middle, and it's just a matter of discipline where you're going to pay your attention, what are you going to focus on. And everything that points to fulfillment is to be found in a more quiet space. Everything that is constantly feeding the bodily instinct is usually louder. It's distractive. It's a lot of chaos. And in that chaos, the body gets what the body needs, because it's constantly being bombarded with some sort of, whether it's entertaining the mind, whether it's entertaining the body, whether it's giving it food, there's a constant bringing to it. And that's why, and because we live in a world where this offer is available at all times to you, at all times you can eat, at all times you can go out and hook up with someone, at all times you can get entertained, it requires your spiritual discipline to not do it, to go into a more quiet space and to go within. And so you will, if you do that, your life from an outside perspective will appear more boring to others. It will look like you aren't much fun anymore. But really, you're moving past fun and moving closer to a state of joy. And the more joy you're experiencing, the more you're moving into a space of freedom. And the more freedom you're experiencing, the more you're moving into a space of fulfillment. And this cannot happen while you're in the trap of this matrix trifecta of power, money, and sex. And this changes everything. I mean, it changes probably what most of us have learned about sex, what most of us have been, conditioned to believe about it. And if you go to a regular therapist today, they will probably give you a very matrix version of what is normal and what is healthy and what needs to happen. But it doesn't need to. And this is really what we're trying to say here. It doesn't need to happen. It is not like your body is going to quit to function. As a matter of fact, throughout the centuries and all the great spiritual teachers, and I want to give you just a hint at that, most of the beautiful spiritual teachings that have been passed on over centuries and millenniums are the ones that were usually, I want to say constructed, but rather received after people have gone into silence and into solitude. What does that tell us? When spiritual teachers have gone into the depths of the forest or into the deserts and spend a lot of time there by themselves, what did they not do? Well, they certainly didn't have sex, did they? So abstinence, and that's what we call this today, I don't even call it that, but we all know what it means, is actually the greatest spiritual discipline to come into deeper levels of understanding. And it is true that only that will lead you there. It isn't to say that what you're doing is wrong if it's different. It is to say that if there's something more than you that you desire, you're not going to be able, and there are these certain barriers, and we can only tell you that from personal experience and from the experience of our tribe, of our clients. There are certain barriers that if you want to live with them, that's totally fine. That is up to you. But if you want to get to a deeper level, if you want to get to a greater level of enlightenment, there are certain barriers that you will have to transcend and overcome. It is virtually impossible to go into deeper states of connection if you regularly consume alcohol or any other drugs. It just is that way. I can tell you this from personal experience, as now I believe it's 13 years or 14 years where I haven't had any alcohol. And I can tell you that I couldn't access certain states before because there was this stimulant in my system, and it takes way longer for it to get out of your system than you think. It's way longer than just a couple of hours or days. It's the same with being constantly addicted to food and needing constant food. It's the same thing. Once Once you give in to those bodily instincts constantly, it's way more difficult to get into deeper states, because really that's why people experience the greatest blissful states in meditation in the mornings, because most people, before they don't eat, before they meditate, so about the body had time to digest, and actually you meditate on an empty stomach, which gives you mostly the most beautiful experience. And it's the same with sex. If you are constantly going in for that satisfaction, you will not be able to reach these deeper levels of fulfillment and divine connection. And this is not a judgment. This is simply an observation and a personal experience. It just doesn't work that way. And so that's why all spiritual teachings of all times and all the great masters have always preached fasting, abstinence, and detachment from too much entertainment, from too many people around you, from too many conversations, from too much imprint from the outside world, because it constantly stimulates those parts of the brain that get their kick out of that stimulation. And so if you really want to go deeper within, go and just don't do what they did. Just look what they did. Look what they did. They went away from their villages and from their families, and I'm not telling you to leave your families for good and just leave. I'm telling you, find the quiet spaces. Turn off the music more often. Turn off the stimulants more often. Just go into a more pure state of being and observe yourself. Do I constantly need something? Do I need something all the time? Do I need to be stimulated? Do I need to get impression? Do I need to get sex? Do I need to get food 7 times a day? Because you don't need to. Really, it's not really a need. Your body will survive perfectly if you scale it down to probably 30% of what most people do. 30% is more than enough. And if you go there, and oftentimes it also means if you turn off all the TV commercials and the mindless watching of TV, you have turned off probably 50% of your sexualized content. If you tune out of modern pop music for the most part, like the videos, the lyrics, you will have tuned out of a great deal of constantly being sexualized. And you will look at the world differently, because you will see every commercial for what it really is. It's changed a little bit. Most of the car commercials of the past were really how to have more sex. It just, there's a shinier car, a bigger engine, louder car, more masculinity, more sex. That was how this was all practiced. And if you look at it a little detached, you will see it everywhere. You will see it in children's movies. You will see it as hidden symbolism. It is everywhere, and it is so powerful, because it speaks to a bodily instinct that is programmed. It's been put there. It's within you. And if it gets a response, then you're hooked. Then you need it. Then you will look for it. And then you will go and get it. And that's where the cycle comes in. And you probably won't break that cycle all at once everywhere, but it's a beginning point. It's a beginning point of understanding this, of looking for it. Because if you look for it, if you find it, if you see where it is, you can catch yourself, and you can allow yourself not to react to it, or realize you just reacted to it, and then shift. And this is really what this is about, first and foremost, because it is the greatest level of freedom when you're not dependent on these 3 pillars: power, money, and sex, most of all, because the 2 others lead always to the first one. And we can tell you that most of the atrocities that are happening in the world, whether that's political, whether that's in war, or whether that's in economics, are happening because of sex. People don't realize that, but it's really coming down to sex. It's crazy, but this is what our decade-long research has shown us, that really that is what's the common theme through it all. And so when you transform, when you transcend that part, when you become the real leader of your life, then you will become a true man, a true woman in the real sense of the word, a true creator, a true human being. a spiritual being, and you will have a different life experience, a constantly really evolving. And for many people, that's the crucial level. They get into spiritual practices, they get into that, but this is the real crucial level. What about my bodily instincts? What about my needs? And we need to redefine that, what a need is. We need to redefine it. We need to soften that a little bit. We need to understand that having sex is really not a need of the body. It expresses itself if we allow it so, but if we raise above that level, we will go into deeper states of fulfillment that literally erase that need. And that's a different kind of abstinence than simply restricting yourself. We see that in a lot of people that are simply restricting themselves and simply trying to punish themselves. That's a suffering victim kind of level. But if you go into, if you make meditation your most important daily practice, or you want to call it prayer, the word that really doesn't matter. Going into silence, becoming quiet, and see what happens if this becomes a regular practice. And if you become a more deliberate decider and creator when it comes to sex, when it comes to having to have it, or thinking you need an orgasm to feel good, or thinking you need an orgasm to feel connected, or thinking you need sex to feel connected to your partner, it is a never-ending story that will never bring you what you're really looking for. And so it's going beyond. And it is very challenging when this journey only begins for one partner in a relationship. It is very challenging. It is very beautiful and fulfilling and expansive if it is something that both partners in a relationship realize. It's a whole new level of love. It's a whole new level of life experience. It's a whole new level of joy, of coming together, of really seeing, feeling, knowing each other. You don't know each other. If your relationship is based on a lot of sex, you don't really see and feel each other. You don't. And this I can say from personal experience, you don't. If it's based on a real, true, authentic love level, it's a whole different thing. And new things begin to happen, new realizations, new worlds, new dimensions, new universes begin to open up. Yeah. Actually, I want to tell you something beautiful, and this might happen in the future in more forms than one. But Kristin is currently doing something beautiful, and it's called exploring your feminine divinity, and that is a big part of what she does with a wonderful group of women. And this might just be something that we will do in the future, also for men. Exploring your true masculine divinity, which is very different than what we're taught out there today. So this is just the next level of this journey. And we've realized that it's such even in a spiritual community, it's such a off-topic topic. And we want not to get more comfortable in talking about sex and different sexual positions. And we want to get more comfortable in allowing ourselves to learn, relearn, remember, and then how do we bring this to the next generation that is constantly exposed to the idea that you need to be sexy all the time. You need to be available. You need to make yourself appear available all the time. And the more you show, the better it is. And the more you have it, the better life is. And so that is our aim, to bring this authentic knowledge and wisdom about true love to the next generation, there's so much healing in that. And we want to point to the beautiful Ringing Cedar books, the Anastasia books. The link is right in the description, and we are not affiliated with the author, with the publisher, or anything. We just love these books, and there's so much beauty, so many beautiful teachings about love, true creation in those books. So we encourage you all to read those books, the Ringing Cedar books, and really go on that journey. These books are not just a reading experience. They are a journey that changes your life. If you allow for it, it will change your life. So Tribe, thank you for joining us today. We did drop the link at the top of the live chat for our for our courses also. If you ever we now are offering pre-recorded courses too, where you can do them in your own time, and they're just as powerful. And just go check it out and see. And it's you start with the Inspired One one course, Empower Yourself, and it's a very beautiful journey that a lot of our tribe members have done. And maybe, if you want to ask someone a question in a different forum or in the comments or somewhere else, reach out. They'll tell you about it and their experience. And also, if you feel inspired to become a practice client for one of our junior coaches in the Inspired Coaching Academy, reach out, send us an email. We'll get you connected. They're wonderful coaches that are in the process of becoming coaches. Some of them really want to do it as a full-time thing, which is beautiful. But they're looking for practice clients, and there's no charge involved with it, to practice what they're learning with real people. And they're very respectful, wonderful. They're really they're making sure that it will be a beautiful experience for everyone involved. So tribe, thank you for being here with us. We love you all. We'll be here again on Wednesday, 2 p.m. Central Standard. And please join us. Bring your friends, bring your family. Let's expand the conversation. We always love to trigger new thoughts, new expansion. If you want to go deeper, reach out to us. There's a good chance that we might go deeper together and explore whole new levels. All right, tribe. We'll see you again on Wednesday. Be inspired, be blessed, and we love you.